You ever walk into a place and just know you're being watched? Not in the flattering way, no. In the what is she doing here kind of way. That was my first day at Sterling & Rowe. I had just landed what everyone in my graduating class prayed for, a junior associate position at one of Manhattan's most elite marketing firms, and yet, the minute I stepped off that elevator, I felt like an imposter in heels that still had the sales sticker on them. Everyone around me looked like they had already made it. Glossy hair, confidence that couldn't be shaken, and resumes longer than my entire academic career. I walked in with talent, ambition, and just enough fear to keep my mouth shut. Then came Nathan Brooks. He didn't just walk, he glided, tall, effortlessly put together, with the kind of smile that made you question every red flag your mother ever warned you about. And of course, he noticed me. I was the new girl, after all, easy to charm, easier to discard. But in that moment, he didn't feel like danger. He felt like the first breath of air after holding it for too long, and I let myself believe he was real. He started stopping by my desk, helping me with presentations, dropping compliments like they were casual when they hit me like thunder. He called me smart, capable, said I had potential, said I was going to be running circles around everyone in a year. That's how it begins, isn't it? Not with flowers, not with fireworks, but with someone making you feel like you're not invisible in a world that keeps trying to shrink you. I told myself not to fall. I repeated it like a prayer. But then came the late-night work sessions, the after-hours drinks, the soft laughs, and the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. And one night, just when I let my guard down, he asked if I wanted to grab a drink after we wrapped up a campaign. I said yes. And just like that, I was in. We talked for hours. He told me about his dreams of opening his own agency, how corporate life was choking his creativity. I listened like every word out of his mouth was gospel. And when he told me he admired my drive, I nearly cried. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something tender, something dangerous. I started to see him differently. I started dressing a little nicer, brushing my hair a little smoother, checking my phone too often. But just when I thought maybe, just maybe, this was turning into something more, he started to fade. No more good morning chats, no more shared lunches, no more spontaneous jokes or glances across the boardroom table. At first I told myself he was busy, swamped, stressed, but my gut had other ideas, the kind that make your chest feel tight for no reason. And then she walked in. Her name was Sierra, a new hire, gorgeous, confident, that kind of beauty that didn't ask for attention, it demanded it. She had curves, charisma, and a laugh that made people lean in just to hear more. And Nathan, he was assigned to train her. Of course, he was. Suddenly, he was everywhere she was, walking her to meetings, standing a little too close, laughing at her jokes, the very things he used to do with me. I watched it all unfold like a rerun of a show I'd already seen, only this time I wasn't the lead. I became the afterthought. The girl who had once mattered and now didn't. And the worst part, he wasn't even hiding it. No shame, no hesitation, like I had never existed, like we had never shared anything at all. They used her to make me jealous. Maybe not intentionally, or maybe exactly that. Either way, I was the collateral damage. I didn't cry in the bathroom stall. I didn't confront him in some grand scene like in the movies. I simply stopped trying. Stopped hoping. Stopped waiting for him to look at me again like I meant something. And instead, I started packing up pieces of myself. Because the truth is, when someone uses your heart like a stepping stone, you don't stay to see how far they'll walk without you. I handed in my resignation a month later, quietly. No drama, no tears, just a small, satisfied smile when HR asked why I was leaving. And I simply said, I've outgrown this place. They thought they'd won, that I'd disappear. But here's the thing about women like me: we don't vanish, we rebuild, and when we return, we don't return alone. Asterisk. Leaving Sterling & Rowe wasn't just about quitting a job, it was about reclaiming my dignity, what was left of it. Anyway, I remember standing outside the building after my last day, holding that little white HR envelope and watching the revolving doors spin behind me. I felt hollow, not because I missed him, but because I had spent so long shrinking myself for someone who never even looked down to notice. So I disappeared, quietly, intentionally, blocked his number, deleted the photos, burned the metaphorical bridge, and then stood there to make sure no one rebuilt it. But here's what no one tells you about pain. It's not loud, it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just silence and breathing and putting your feet on the ground every morning when you really, really don't want to. The first 2 weeks were awful. I slept too much, ate too little, checked his LinkedIn more than I'd like to admit. And then, one day, it stopped. I stopped caring what he posted. I stopped wondering if Sierra had replaced me. I stopped writing imaginary texts in my head that I'd never send. And I started applying for new roles. The rejections came fast. Corporate America doesn't care if your heart's broken. But somewhere between cover letter number 38 and unpaid bills, I got an interview with a mid-sized agency called Maverick North. They weren't Sterling and Rowe, but they were something better real. The office was smaller, messier, and definitely didn't smell like imported marble and overpriced toner. But the energy, it was electric, passionate, purpose-driven. And the creative director, his name was Leo Hunter. Now, before your brain jumps to romance, let me tell you something. Leo didn't flirt. He didn't play games. He didn't even remember my name the first 2 days. He cared about 2 things, ideas and integrity. And to a girl like me, freshly bruised, emotionally stiff, allergic to attention, he was exactly what I needed. He gave me projects no one else wanted, told me to prove myself or pack up. I chose prove myself every damn day. For the first time, I wasn't being noticed for how I looked, how I smiled, or how many coffee runs I could handle. I was seen for my mind, my creativity, my grit, and slowly, very slowly, I started to remember who I was before. Nathan Brooks ever said my name like it mattered, that it took 6 months. 6 months of working late, of saying no to guys who reminded me of him, of staring at my reflection and forcing myself to say, "You were never the problem." And then, something happened. We landed a massive campaign pitch for a Fortune 500 brand. Leo picked me to lead the strategy. Me, the girl who once couldn't make eye contact in a boardroom. And we nailed it, crushed it, blew the clients away. After the pitch, Leo pulled me aside. He said, "You've got fire, Emily. Don't let anyone dim it again, ever." And for the first time in what felt like years, I believed it. But the universe wasn't done with me yet, because fate's got a wicked sense of humor. 1 week later, I saw the name pop up on my inbox. Nathan Brooks, subject line, "Congrats." I stared at the screen for a full minute. Didn't click, didn't open, just stared. Because here's the thing. People always come back when they realize you've moved on, when they see you're doing better, when your glope is no longer screaming, and the ones who once made you feel invisible, they suddenly want to check in. But I didn't reply, because I didn't need closure. I didn't need validation. And I definitely didn't need him. Instead, I closed the email, took a deep breath, and went to grab coffee with Leo. We'd been getting closer, not in the way Nathan and I did, not fast, not fragile. This was different, rooted. Built on respect, grown from quiet understanding and shared late nights over Thai takeout and rejected campaign drafts. He made me laugh again, genuinely laugh. And he never once made me question my worth. So when he asked, months later, if I'd ever consider dinner outside of deadlines and client decks, I said yes. Not because I needed someone, but because I finally knew I deserved someone who didn't treat my heart like a disposable resource. Funny thing about people like Nathan, they don't reach out because they miss you. They reach out because they miss the version of themselves that you use to reflect back at them. I didn't respond to that first email, or the second, but the third one came with a subject line that almost made me laugh out loud. "Let's catch up." Like we were old friends who just drifted apart. Like he hadn't deliberately erased me from his life for a shinier toy with louder laughter. I still didn't reply, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't stir something. Not longing, just anger. The kind that sits low in your chest and simmers until you realize you're stronger because of it. A week later, I saw him. Not online, not on social media, in person. At a conference my agency was presenting at. Of course, there he was, standing by the coffee table, still tall, still charming, still wearing that smug little smirk that once made me melt. He saw me. I saw the flicker in his eyes, the recognition, the surprise, and then something else. Regret. I was wearing confidence that day, like a tailored coat, hair pulled back, voice steady. I wasn't the girl who used to wait for his texts. I was the woman walking on stage to present a campaign that his company wished they had pitched out. After I finished my keynote, He cornered me outside the conference room. Emily, he said, like the name still belonged to him. Hi Nathan, that's all I gave him. Cool, measured, bored even. He launched into small talk, fake compliments, shallow interest, said I was doing well and how great it was to see me. And then he said the sentence I had played in my head so many times it should have lost meaning. I made a mistake. I blinked. That's the thing about apologies that come too late. They land like junk mail. You don't even bother opening them. I tilted my head and said, I'm sure you did. That's it. No scene, no slap, no dramatic music, just silence. The kind that says, you're irrelevant now. And as I walked away, I felt nothing but relief. Because when someone finally says I'm sorry and all you feel is peace, that's healing. That night, I told Leo everything, not because I needed him to fix it, but because I wanted him to know all the pieces of me, the broken ones too. He didn't judge, didn't pity, he just listened. And when I finished, he said something I'll never forget. You didn't let him break you. You rebuilt yourself in front of the whole damn world, and you made it look effortless. No one had ever said that to me, not even me. We were quiet for a while after that, and then he reached for my hand. It felt solid, warm, real, not butterflies, not sparks, but peace. And that, I've learned, is better. We started dating after that, slowly, deliberately, no games. He met my friends, I met his sister. We cooked terrible pasta and laughed at awful movies. That there was no drama, no jealousy, no Sierra 2.0 lurking in the shadows. Just trust. And for the first time in years, I started imagining a future that didn't make me flinch. **** Healing isn't a straight line. It's more like a scribble forward, backward, sideways, loop-to-loop, crash. And just when I thought my life had finally found its rhythm, the past like always came knocking again. It started with a phone call, one I wasn't supposed to answer. An unknown number. Normally I don't pick those up, but curiosity has a way of making fools out of the healed Emily, he said. I knew the voice. Didn't need a name. Didn't need a reminder of the man who once used my heart as a backup plan. Nathan. He sounded tired, not physically, emotionally, like someone who finally saw the wreckage they caused after the smoke had cleared. I just wanted to talk, he said. Just hear your voice. I didn't say anything, because silence, I've learned, can hurt more than words ever could. He kept going, said Sierra had left the company, that things weren't the same, that he kept thinking about me. Of course, he did. Men like Nathan never miss you when you're hurting. They miss you when you're glowing. Then came the part that almost made me laugh. I still think about what we could have been. I wanted to scream. We were never anything because you didn't let it become something. But I didn't, because people like him feed on reactions. So I simply said, I'm happy now. Please don't call again. And hung up. And for the first time in years, I felt proud, not just of how far I'd come but of the woman I refused to become again. Leo noticed the shift. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. He could read me better than any book that night. We stayed up talking about everything. Regrets, growth, the weird turns life takes to bring the right people to you at the wrong time. And how sometimes, if you're lucky, the right time comes around after all. I told him. I wasn't scared anymore. Not of love, not of loss, not of becoming someone else's second choice. And Leo looked at me like I'd just told him the sun came up for me, and me alone. He said, you deserve a forever that never has to apologize for yesterday. And then he asked me to move in. It wasn't flashy, no candlelight, no violins. Just 2 mugs of tea, a messy apartment, and a man who meant every word he said. I said yes, and that's when everything really changed. Life got fuller, simpler, happier. I got promoted. Leo published a book. We got a dog. His name is Waffles. And he chews everything but our peace. And just when I thought I couldn't possibly feel more certain, more ready, Leo proposed. In the most Leo way possible. No audience, no Instagram perfect moment. Just him, kneeling in our kitchen one morning, holding out a ring with peanut butter on his thumb, and a sleepy smile that could melt glaciers. I want all of your days, even the hard ones. Especially the hard ones. And I laughed, because how do you say yes to something you already feel in your bones? I whispered, always. Weddings are strange, not because of the vows or the flowers or the overpriced chairs, but because everyone suddenly wants to talk about your journey, as if love is some polished, curated highlight reel. But mine was war, it was survival, It was rebuilding a life from the ashes of someone else's game. So when I walked down that aisle, it wasn't just about marrying Leo. It was about honoring every version of myself that once thought she'd never make it here. I chose a simple dress. No veil. No drama. Just clean fabric, steady footsteps, and a heart that no longer trembled. Leo stood there, waiting, smiling like I was the only person in the universe. And in that moment, God, I felt seen. Not admired. Not desired. Seen. The ceremony was short. No poems, no grand speeches. Just two people promising to hold each other gently through whatever storm might come next. We exchanged rings, and when he whispered, "You're safe now," I believed him. For the first time in years, I fully believed someone wasn't going to love me just to leave me. But of course, no story ends without one last twist, right? The reception was small. Close friends, family, co-workers, laughter, dancing, toast after toast. And then, I saw him, Nathan, standing outside the venue, not inside, not invited, just watching. He hadn't changed much. Same posture, same pride, trying to hold itself together. Part of me wanted to turn away, pretend I hadn't seen him. But another part, the part of me that had finally healed, walked straight toward him. He looked startled. Maybe he expected tears. Maybe a confrontation. What he didn't expect was peace. I stepped close enough for him to hear me, but not close enough to give him hope. "What are you doing here?" I asked. He hesitated. "I just wanted to see you happy." It was the most honest thing he'd ever said to me, and maybe the first time I didn't feel anything cruel toward him. I nodded. "Well," I said, "you got your wish." He opened his mouth. Maybe to apologize, maybe to explain, but I didn't need either, because forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means I'm done letting you live rent-free in my story. So I said it softly, without venom. "I hope you find your peace someday. I really do." And I turned around and walked away. Back to the man who never made me doubt. Back to the life I built without compromise. Back to my beginning. Because here's the truth. They used a new girl to make me jealous. They underestimated me. They thought I'd chase, break, shatter. But I didn't. I married someone else before they could even apologize. And I never looked back. Asterisk. 3 years. That's how long it's been since I said I do to Leo. 3 years of early morning coffee, mismatched socks, weekend hikes, burnt pancakes, and kisses in the hallway that still feel like magic. Marriage didn't fix me. It never could. Because I wasn't broken to begin with. Just bruised. Just tired, but love, real love, gave me something no apology ever could. Peace. Peace in silence. Peace in the ordinary. Peace in being chosen daily. Some nights I lie in bed next to Leo and think about the girl I used to be, the one who checked her phone every 3 minutes, praying for validation, the one who smiled through humiliation, just to stay likable, the one who mistook crumbs for a feast and manipulation for romance. And I want to wrap my arms around her and whisper, "He wasn't your story. He was just the detour that taught you how to write your own ending." Because the truth is, healing doesn't come from revenge. It doesn't come from being wanted again. It comes when you no longer need to be wanted at all. And that's where I live now. Some days, people from the past still pop up, like on an old photo, a mutual friend update. But none of it shakes me anymore. Because when you finally live in your worth, not your wounds, nothing from your past can reach you. Not even Nathan. And to the girl out there listening to this, who's feeling forgotten, replaced, invisible, let me say this. You are not hard to love. You are just asking for love from someone incapable of giving it. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to beg anyone to see you. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to choose peace over chaos. And you are allowed to heal, even if they never say sorry. Because the most powerful thing I ever did was rebuild my life quietly and marry someone else before they even had the courage to admit they were wrong. Asterisk. Our third wedding anniversary was simple. No grand trips, no flashy gifts, just the two of us, in our cozy little home, wrapped in the kind of love that doesn't need to be posted or performed at. Leo made dinner. He burned the garlic bread again and I pretended not to notice, because the truth is, I love the way he tries. He doesn't just show up when it's convenient. He's there on the ordinary days, the boring days, the "I'm too tired to talk" days. And that kind of love, it's rare. After dinner, he handed me a small, square box. Inside was a bracelet. Nothing expensive. Just a delicate silver band engraved with 4 simple words. You chose you first. I looked up at him, and he said, "You choosing yourself is what made room for me to love you right." I didn't cry, not right away, but later, lying in bed. My fingers traced the words over and over, and I remembered. I remembered the moment I almost gave up. Not the heartbreak, not the humiliation, but the quiet, that heavy silence after I quit Sterling and Rowe. When I had no job, no man, no plan, just pain. There was one night, months before Maverick North hired me, where I sat on the kitchen floor of my tiny apartment with an unpaid electric bill in my hand, and all the lights off. I remember whispering to myself, "This can't be all there is. This can't be the end of me." But the truth is, sometimes you have to be emptied before you can be filled with something better. That night wasn't my end. It was the ground I had to plant my feet on so I could rise. And now, 3 years later, on my anniversary, I smiled, knowing the girl who once sat in the dark would be so damn proud of the woman who now shines without apology. Leo fell asleep early that night, hand resting on my hip, steady and safe. I slipped out of bed and went to my desk, pulled open a drawer, took out an old notebook I hadn't touched in years, the one I used to fill with quotes, doodles, half-written journal entries from the days when I was still trying to convince myself I mattered. And tucked between the pages was a list I had made when Nathan ghosted me, a list titled, "What I Deserve, Respect, Consistency, Laughter, that feels safe, someone who sees me and stays, peace, real love." I read it slowly, and for the first time since I'd written it, I realized I have all of it now. Every single thing. I didn't lower my standards. I didn't settle out of loneliness. I didn't go back to what broke me. I built something new, with someone who didn't come to fix me but to stand beside me while I healed myself. If I could sit across from the girl I used to be, the one who stared at a man like he hung the moon while he built someone else a sky, I wouldn't lecture her. I wouldn't tell her to be smarter, stronger, colder. I'd just take her hand, let her cry, and then, when the silence settled, I'd say, "Nothing he's giving her is more than what you were willing to give him. The difference is, he didn't deserve you." And one day, you'll stop trying to make sense of it, because you'll be too busy living a life where no one plays games with your heart. It's easy to confuse attention with affection. It's easy to mistake excitement for care, but real love stays when you're silent. It listens when your words get messy. It chooses you, even when you're not shiny and convenient. Leo and I had our tough moments. Not every day was sweet, but even on the hard days, there was never a single second I wondered if he was for me. He always was, and that's what changed everything. Not that someone loved me, but that I finally learned to receive it without thinking. I had to earn it by suffering first. It's funny, I used to think closure would come in the form of an apology, some grand moment where Nathan would beg for forgiveness and I'd finally feel whole again. But closure didn't come from him. It came the day I stopped waiting for him to validate my pain. It came the day I realized healing isn't loud, it's quiet. It's waking up one morning and realizing you haven't thought about them in weeks. It's seeing their name and feeling nothing. That's the real victory. That's the real freedom. And now I live in gratitude, not for what Nathan did, but for what it pushed me to become, because if he hadn't broken me, I wouldn't have rebuilt myself brick by brick, and I wouldn't have found the kind of love that doesn't need to be earned, just honored. Every woman listening to this, every soul that's been left behind, compared, replaced, let this be your proof. You can lose what you thought was everything, and still walk away with more than you ever imagined. You can be forgotten by them, and still remembered by yourself. You can be discarded, and still end up adored. You can be used, and still end up married to someone who thanks God every single day that the wrong one let you go. Time moves quietly when your heart is at peace. It's been 5 years now. 5 years since I walked away from a job that drained me. 5 years since I walked away from a man who never truly saw me, and 5 years since I walked into the kind of love I once thought only lived in fiction. We moved into a home surrounded by trees. It's nothing flashy, no marble countertops or city skyline views, but the light hits the kitchen just right every morning, and the silence here doesn't. Our kid heals. I started writing again. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to. Sometimes the words pour out. Sometimes they take their time, but every time I write, I remember the girl who once thought her story ended at heartbreak. Now, I teach other women how to rewrite theirs. Some come to me fresh out of betrayal. Some are still in it, still checking their phones, still pretending they're fine. And I never tell them to move on, because that's not healing. That's rushing. Instead, I tell them, let it hurt, let it teach you, then let it go, before it teaches you the same lesson twice. Last fall, I gave a talk at a women's retreat. At the end of it, someone asked me, if you could say one thing to the man who used you to make someone else jealous, what would it be? I paused, then I smiled, and I said, thank you. Not because he loved me well, but because he didn't, and that forced me to learn how to love myself first. It taught me the difference between being chosen for convenience and being chosen with intention. It taught me that love isn't meant to be earned, it's meant to be shared. And most importantly, it led me to the life I was actually meant for. A life where I'm not second-guessing every word, where I'm not fighting to be enough, where I'm not waiting for a text that never comes. Because now, I don't chase love, I welcome it, I nurture it, and I deserve it. So to the girl still wondering why he picked her over you, understand this: they used a new girl to make you jealous, but they accidentally pushed you into becoming unstoppable. They lost someone irreplaceable, and you get to live a story that they'll never be part of again. You get to love someone who never needed to compare you to anyone, someone who saw you and stayed, who fought for you without ever making you beg. You get to walk away without slamming the door because you've already locked it behind you. And as for the apology, you don't need it, because you already healed without it, and you already married someone else before they even realized what they threw away.